And welcome to Mommy Diaries. This show is about parenting, motherhood, and this amazing journey ya ho hodisa bana ba rona. On today's show, I am so excited. From a podcaster to another podcaster.
Come on now.
I'm sitting with the podcaster.
You're killing it. You're killing it.
How are you, Blake?
Good. Yeah.
The name? What's up with the name?
What do you mean?
Why are you black? Get Black or Blake?
Black.
Black.
Like
but you don't write
color.
it like black.
Yeah, but and you know, like I've had this name for so long that over the years people have just like taken that spelling as well.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, man, it's not as unique as it was. The spelling.
Were you black at school?
Yeah, I was.
Which school?
I was. A very dodgy school that I went. Yeah. High school or varsity?
Our varsity.
We were in that.
I don't remember anyone calling you black.
No.
But also I was very depressed school after, I won't lie.
All of us were.
Were you?
I was. I hated it.
Me too.
I hated after. Till today, I'm like, even now, like I'm getting triggered.
Really?
I didn't like that place.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Why though?
A number of reasons. Personally, there was stuff that was happening at home.
Yeah.
But outside of that, and that's why I found like a little clique of people that were by the toilets where the non-cool kids sit.
Yeah.
That's where we were.
Yeah.
By the toilets, not by the benches.
Yeah.
And I think having a bunch of artists in one space is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially if you're promising them the world, you know?
Yeah.
So the egos were just too large for how small that school was.
True.
And there were some people, again, because we were young, who were just clumsy with how they handled their ego.
Yeah.
And so they just bled on everyone,
Yeah.
you know? And that place was small and noisy, man.
Yeah, like you explained it so well. Like even for me, especially coming from Bloemfontein, getting here, the culture shock, number one.
Sure.
You know, for me, when I got here, girls were smoking in Bloem. It was not a thing at all.
upon,
You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like,
sure.
oh, a girl is
What are
smoking.
you
And then the
doing?
next thing, not just cigarette, there's weed. Hey, banna.
Yeah.
Oh, matekwane. And girls, they look so cool.
Very.
You know, and I was, my depression also came from the fact that I was poor.
Yeah.
I was so poor. I was so poor. Like, and you would see people eating and throwing their food. I'm like,
That's
oh
crazy.
my God, I didn't have
People
anything.
changing outfits every single day, sometimes twice a day. And you're like, this can't be reality.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
You know? So it was...
But look at us now.
yeah, come on
Po, po,
now.
po.
Come on now.
And
I suspect you're an introvert.
nah.
Yeah.
Kind of introvert again. Inside.
Inside, yeah.
Mm,
Extra is people...
Out.
And there's probably a more nuanced way of defining it. So where do you get energy? Do you get energy by being with people, or do you get energy by being alone?
Can it be seasonal? Can it change?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think after I had no choice but to be an introvert because I didn't fit in.
Okay.
Am I making sense? I
Yeah.
didn't fit in.
Yeah, sure,
All
100.
those kids were
Sure.
moneyed and they
Yeah.
spoke better English than mine.
Come on now.
I didn't have the money for the week. The bonding at the time, nearly bonding. So I didn't have a choice but to be an introvert. But later on, you know, when with certain people, when I was back home, I was fine.
And you'd open up.
Yeah,
sure.
but here it was tough for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what depression is.
Yeah. I mean,
But I felt
come
something.
on,
Yeah.
It was a movie.
Yeah.
We didn't even have language for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so yeah.
You met your wife at school, right?
Did.
Tell me about it.
4 days into school. I actually remember the day we started school. I think it was the 4th of February.
2008. Yeah.
2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first day.
Yeah.
And we were in sound class. And again, very awkward. I'm an introvert.
Yeah, but
So I'm like...
I don't know what that means, but we are monagal.
so I'm just like, man, this room is quiet, which is
Yeah.
fine for me. But then I was like, it's getting a little bit too quiet. And she was sitting behind me, had these amazing glasses. So I was like, man, those glasses are cool. I'd want them. I know she's not going to give me, but let me just spark a conversation. So I was like, hey, what's up? I'm Black. Oh, Lily, cool, man. Like your glasses. Can I have them? And then classical, my wife, she's like, no, my late dad gave these glasses to me. So I'm like, wow, okay, that went from 0 to 100 now.
Yeah.
Now I have to take your dad's glasses who's dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we became like we were acquaintances, and then later on realized that we chilled with a bunch of the uncool kids by the toilet together. So then we're in like a friendship circle with a couple of other people. And then within that friendship circle, our friendship was really strong, you know, and she just became a sister, became like a very
sister
good
to your
friend.
wife. Oh,
For 5 years, though.
She was a sister for 5 years?
Yeah. You know, the thought of dating my wife was disgusting to both of us. Like, we would vomit if somebody said, you guys look good together. And we'd be like, ugh. We'll never forget that. Like, we'd never do that. We'll never date. I'm like, man, that's my sister. What are you saying? Like, the thought is disgusting.
Hey!
Hunting!
5 years.
For 5 years, yeah.
So you were just cool, good friends.
Solid. So after 3 years, and then we fought third year. Our third year, we didn't speak the whole year. Like zero.
What did you do?
Again, craziness of after. It was... we did experimental the first semester, third year.
Yes.
And then we did our grad film, graduation film, second semester.
Yeah.
So it was experimental. There was, again, you know, we're shooting like Buloi, and it's just, you know, experimental. People were doing crazy things.
Yeah.
And so we buy some river, and like we're all just losing our minds. We've been there for 3 nights. No one knows their left from their right, you know? And it just looks like it was insane, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so in the midst of all of that, there's rumors about how, because she was the director, that she's not treating some of the crew members right or whatever. And it was just like a weird story. I was fed the story, and then I just suddenly became snacks towards her. And she was wondering, like, you're my best friend. Why are you like this?
Yeah.
Eventually, a couple of weeks after that experimental film, like, I just distanced myself from her. And then she felt that, and then was like, man, that's a bit cold. That's cruel. I thought we were friends. You would have come spoken to me. But at that point as well, personally, that's when, so my parents' divorce was finalized in first year. In third year, first semester, I was homeless, right? Nobody knew that. And I was sleeping in my car. And so my life was just like in a mess. I hate after. My parents, which was my base, you know, like I always functioned from family, like grew up with, now I'm back paddling. My mom was 15 when she had me. My dad was 20. And so I kind of grew up in this humble home together. We literally kids raising each other.
Yeah.
So it's just like an amazing story. You know, my parents have involved me in everything. My dad is there. I'm the only kid in my extended family, in my street, in my community who has a present father. You know, so I'm like, yeah, we might not have money, but like I have my parents, you know, and my dad is a hardworking man. And fast forward later on in life, he had money. I don't think I would have afforded to pay for after if my dad, you know, that thing was expensive. But when I was 15, they separated. In fact, my dad left us. And so that kind of shook my world. By the time I got to after, my mother was full of, you know, my dad being in and out. And so then they officially divorced. So I enter after with my foundation cracked. And so then get into this crazy school, stuff is not blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, parents are fighting for the house at our family home. I'm in my third year. And then my mom is like, listen, fighting with your dad. You know, I'm going to take your little sister. You old enough. I don't know how I'm going to look after you. So figure yourself out for now. Until I come back around, right? So then I'm like, cool. I'm there in my car. Go to after in the morning, get in, steady. Afterwards, try and hang out with the cool kids who were drinking and smoking and doing all sorts of things because they were going to parties. I'd be their unofficial Uber driver. So now I'm with you, and then we're going, and I'm like, yeah, I'll drop you off at home. When we get to your house, I'm like, Marcy, I live far. Can I just crash? Yeah, sure, just crash. And tomorrow we'll go to school together. Cool, right? And so that was me, right? That first semester of our third year. And then the fallout happened, and I just couldn't think. I wasn't a good friend. And we just didn't talk till we finished our grad film. She approached me and was like, man, this was the hardest year, you know, just not being with my friend. Let's forget what happened.
Yeah.
Right. And so I actually told my wife what happened in that year, I think when we got married.
Mm-hmm.
Like just that whole family drama and what had happened.
She didn't know.
No, I think I probably said, man, stuff. She knew stuff was happening.
Yeah, but
she didn't realize the depth at which it affected me again because my base had shattered.
Yeah.
The only time my base was formalized again was when I married her. So now I'm like, man, I walk around with my chest because my base is there.
Yeah.
I know where I'm launched from. You know what I mean? And I used to be launched from my parents. They broke, and then I was just wandering off in this wilderness. Again, importance of having a family, didn't have that, so it was just tough, until we walked down the aisle and said I do, and I was like, man, I feel whole again. Yeah. I feel like a human again, So that was my time, man.
And because of that whole brokenness, are you now more intentional because of that foundation, because it broke? Because sometimes it can either go left or right.
Yeah.
The same thing is, for example, some kids, if they were raised by abusive parents,
sure,
it's either they're going to be very intentional, I do not want to be like my dad.
Yeah.
Or they become like their dads because that's all they know.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's not a saying, but it's a short story. 2 boys raised by a drunkard. Mm. Dad is heavily drunk. And these boys grow up, and then one of them does become a drunkard. The other one becomes successful in life. And they ask them, so they ask the drunk one, why did you grow up and become a drunk? And he says, because my dad was a drunk. And then they ask the successful one, why did you become successful? And he says, because my dad was a drunk. And again, it just speaks to resolve. It speaks to conviction. It speaks to motivation. I saw the importance of and the benefit of having a family. So even when my dad left, I resolved in my 15-year-old heart, I'm going to get married regardless of what happens. Because in the first 15 years my dad was around, man, he was present in every single aspect, right? I'll never take that away from my dad. Me and my dad today don't have a relationship. We don't speak. The last time I spoke to him was 6 years ago. And even in that conversation, I was trying to reconcile with him, and it just fell apart. And before the 6-year mark, it was 5 years before then, which was the year I got married. So I haven't spoken to my dad in 11 years. And before then, it was probably like another 6 years or whatever that I hadn't spoken to him. But I remember resolving in my heart, man, like even though my dad has left, the first 15 years were good. He was physically present, financially present, spiritually present, emotionally present. I think my emotional intelligence comes from him. Yeah. And how he never shied away from telling us he loved us, being affectionate with my mother in age-appropriate ways in front of me. So I saw how my dad loved my mom. I always tell the story of how when we lived in a back room in my grandmother's house, my dad, I don't know where he got the love of cooking, but he came. They were supposed to have a date night with my mom, and then out of his heart or love for us, just decided, hey, let's have this date night together, with me included, right? And he cooked mince and spaghetti in an appetizer, right? And till today, I mean, obviously my views have changed, but appetizer, mince and spaghetti, man, that's romance for me. I like
that's what you saw.
Because that's what I saw. I was like, man, that's romantic. Whatever, And maybe my dad was like, man, this is a cheap, quick meal. We could do this quick. Yeah. But for me, I was like, man, that's when I get married one day. I'll shine throw yummy. It means spaghetti, appetizer, girl. Yeah, the class one. So I saw all of that, and my dad was there. We had a drum majorettes club at my house. My dad ran that thing, and so we had like kids from the community come to my house, and I'd see how they would look at my father, and I'd be like, man, I want people to look at me like that. When my dad would drive me to school, we lived in Tembisa, and I went to school in Kempton, so it's like a 25-30-minute drive. So when we'd drive, my dad would pick up like people on the side of the road and give them lifts, like old people. And I remember one day saying, what if like somebody kills us, right? And strangles us here and is like, man, if we die doing good work,
then it's fine.
Right? Yeah. And I was like, man, this guy's a hero. I want to be a hero like this guy. Love people, care for people, And so when he left, man, that killed me. That shattered me. It's as though for the first 15 years, my coach taught me how to play this game called life. At age 15, I jumped into the field. Now I can become a man. I looked to the side and my coach wasn't there, you know? And so then I had to figure out how to play the game myself until later on in life, you know? So, yeah. So those first 15 years were very crucial. And that's why I think I show up the way I show up now. With my family and my family, my wife and my kid. Yeah.
And did you forgive him, even though I know you're not talking to your dad?
I
forgave him.
Yeah, it took a while, man. Took a while. I was 27, got in the shower, random Tuesday. I was like, I'm cool, I'm done with my dad, whatever. I didn't even think it was a thing. And a thought popped up of him. And I just spent the next hour in the shower crying. You know, and I was like, oh, smack, like I haven't dealt with the thing because I thought I dealt with it. And this was 2 years into my marriage. And so then I was like, actually, I need to do hard work. And one of the things I did is to honor my dad in his absence. So even now, me telling you the story of him being in my life is me honoring him in his absence. He's not in my life, he's absent. But, when we're supposed to honor our parents, it's easy to honor them in their presence, you know, because they're right there, you know, but it's hard to honor them in their absence, especially if you guys are not at a good place, you know. So part of my healing and process of continuing to forgive him is to honor him. I will never take away the first 15 years of my life from him. He killed him. He was a hero. He was a champion. He was the best dad ever. And till today, I don't know what flipped. It was literally a day and night situation, you know, like literally. And it's bizarre. Like,
it happened like overnight type of thing.
No, literally overnight.
You didn't see, you know, like, how do I explain? When my dad left, I was 7, but I remember everything.
Sure.
So before he left, I remember him changing. When I say changing, he became very hot. Like, yeah,
I went there as well.
Is
Come
it?
on now. You know they kicked me out.
Is it?
They kicked me out because of how I dress.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the church was at my house.
Come on.
And the church is at we had Mukuku at the time. So my mom and him owned the church.
Yes.
It's their church.
Yes.
So one time Gamona, he's now I get they leave their beard. So he started trimming.
Okay, come on now.
I trim ashiale.
Undercover maniki oba.
And then anghamona dining oslafuna bo chapisia beaches, huh?
Come on now.
And I could hear the
you old school beaches.
Yeah, the beaches.
Come on, dog.
So the guys this didn't come mask again. That's I hate it till today. That smells some mask.
That was the campo players.
Yeah. So and then because I was very much aware, because the 15 years that you're talking about, for me it was very short-lived.
Short, yeah. And you're still developing.
Like I mean, when you're 7, you know, it's like you're very young, but I still remember.
Sure.
So the 2 minutes of joy that I had with him was literally 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, me, because I used to sleep with him on the floor because my mom needed with my sister.
Sure.
I remember following him everywhere. He was my first love. I loved him.
Yeah.
But now that the walk is changing. Now I see there's a lot of meetings happening.
Yeah.
You know, he's Mewahaye coming to my mom, and then they're having a whole meeting, and the whole meeting was about, and I would listen and try to understand.
Yeah.
And the meeting is like, no, all of a sudden he doesn't want to be part of our church anymore.
Sure.
Wow. Yeah, we lay Jobeke.
Sure.
He got saved.
Yeah.
So now Hori
Sure.
to open his own church.
Wow.
But now kanti muzalwane ki side chick.
Hallelujah.
Ki side chick. So he found someone.
Come on.
And he was happy with that woman. Because I remember this other time we were playing out salvation.
Yeah.
I remember this other time we were playing outside, and I saw this lady coming to look for him. Muzalwane. Muzalwane wathi Dumelang. Ke batla ntate Kwetle. We ran into the house and told my mom, I'm sheba ka fester. Because they ended up getting married and opening their church together. And we used to go there and watch. You know, when you're watching your dad loving someone else. You're watching.
Yo.
I remember this other time, the first time, this co-parenting thing is a new thing.
Yeah, sure.
I don't remember my mom and my dad
That's
co-parenting.
woke culture.
Yeah.
No
I remember this
way.
other time he forced to take us to his church, and my mom had no choice. We get into the car, we go to the church. So I get now requires it. Pilato. So now it's happening. My half brother Lena Ugeni. No more. Oh. And then when we get home, we're telling. I've always been a storyteller. I'm telling my mom, we got there, and then I give one papa aswara me ole wadi breli, and then bar shumaela mole baizak.
Yeah.
She was so mad.
Sure.
She was so mad.
Livid.
Yeah. She was so mad. She cut our hair.
Yo.
I don't know why. Till today, I don't know why I cut your hair. I was so mad. So I'm like, at least, I'm not saying it's better, your situation is better, but the 15 years did something to you.
No, it did.
Because you got a taste of...
man.
And it took me forever to also forgive him.
Yeah. 7 is my daughter. My daughter is 6 years old. I cannot in a million years imagine leaving her.
Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
My dad was also a preacher, apostle.
That's so trampy, bow.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
In the church.
Yes.
And then now what you do now, like your podcast, I'm sure you're learning. What made you think about, obviously, the podcast defining?
Yeah.
We all have the platform.
Sure.
We all have the access.
Yeah.
But what made you decide, one day or tomorrow, I want this?
Yeah. So funny thing, I've been podcasting since 2015.
Yo?
Yeah.
You know, podcaster
but for that too.
Really?
That too, yeah. So I had a podcast for Christian hip hop.
Okay.
Called The Grid, and then I also had a podcast for another organization called the Gospel Coalition.
Okay.
So there's a Gospel Coalition USA, and then they started opening Gospel Coalitions across the world. And so I was doing a podcast for Gospel Coalition Africa.
Yeah.
And this was before podcasting was
a thing.
Podcasting.
Yeah.
But again, when something is not wanted by the market at large, you also don't know what to do with it, So you're like, I've seen this thing, but it's not really defined, especially for smaller creators. Because at that time, podcasts were like, you had to have like cameras and big studios or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really defined for like small creators,
Yeah.
So I was just doing the thing, didn't know where it was going to go. So I think just in terms of the bug for podcasting, that was there as early as 2015, So I did those two and then started another podcast for husbands called 2.5 Husbands with 2 other husbands, and then left that and started That Husband. Yeah. So the bug for podcasting was there. And so I think at a creation level, that's why I created the current podcast that I have, having learned all the lessons from the other previous podcasts. I was like, man, I could take all that knowledge and implement it on this one.
Yeah.
And I think by God's grace, man, it's done very well.
It's doing well.
Yeah,
I see it. Yeah.
So, but another reason why I started it is this 15-year story with my dad. I just did not want black boys to grow up like me, man. And so there's a whole lot of other things that are done for men. So manhood stuff. We'll have campaigns about men. We'll have, people, wanting to do workshops on how to train men. There's a whole lot of conversations about the young boy child, etc., etc. There's a whole lot of stuff as well about fatherhood, So now it's Father's Day. A lot of people will talk about fatherhood, but no one is talking to husbands. No one, right? And I don't say this arrogantly, but with a so I love podcasters when they say we're the fastest growing podcast. Like it seems like every podcaster wants to take that.
Yeah, that's
we're the fastest. And so I don't say this arrogantly, but because we're the only husband podcast on the continent, right? I've seen other husband podcasts, I think in the UK and the States, but I haven't seen any husband podcast. that's done by a husband, 2 husbands, right, 4 husbands. We the only one.
Yeah.
And so I realized that in the mess of everything else, no one is talking to husbands, and husbands actually occupy a very unique role.
They do.
We can speak both to men who are not married, and we can speak to fathers if you're a husband who has a child, right?
Yeah.
And the difference between a single man and a father to a husband, my leadership is turned on 24/7. So if you're a father who's not married, you have to have your leadership turned on towards your kid, but it's a different kind of leadership.
Yes.
I have to have my leadership turned on 24/7 for my wife, for my child. After I switch off the cameras on my podcast, I'm still turned on in my leadership towards 100%. Them. Even when I'm recording, I'm still, you know what I mean? And so there's a level of leadership that we get to experience as husbands that I was like, man, it's so crucial. And if husbands could stay at home and not be like our dads, right? Thank God that we turned out the way we did. But again, with the story of the 2 kids who were raised by the drunkard, it could turn out either way. So thank God we turned out the way we turned out. But there's a whole lot of other kids who don't have that fighting chance. And so I was like, man, I need to speak to husbands and remind them of their unique role and encourage them to stay at home. I always say apartheid continued as long as it did because there were husbands who were at home around a dinner table teaching that ideology to their children, right? And so that thing persisted as long as it did because those kids took it out from the dinner table into the streets and we felt it, right? And so I'm like, if we're going to fight back against any injustice, any darkness in our community, in our society, be a husband who stays at home, love your wife. And the best thing you'll do for your kids is for them to see how much you love their mother, regardless of what's happening, right? Whether it's snowing, whether it's raining, you are there, you are showing up. It's not easy. You're caring for her because again, like that's one person who's going to change the kind of person that you are. Yeah. I am not who I am now in and of myself. My wife has been a major instrument in shaping who I am. And the best thing I could do for my daughter is loving my wife wholeheartedly and that she sees that because that love pours down into her and it's going to shape her to become a different human. You know what I mean? So for me, that's why I wanted to create that husband and kind of encourage us because the role of husbandhood has also been devalued. Yeah. People don't see the value in getting married. People are like, like we could just chill, dog. Like we're cool.
Yeah, we don't have to sign or make it official.
Make it, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I was like, man, let's kind of raise the temperature again, And there's something that happens when you cross that invisible threshold of marriage. And
how do you deal with conversations that I'm not saying conversation around people that you know, maybe people that you know are exactly like you, or like I'm just saying let's say on social media where you hear like the whole thing of husbands must stay home.
Yeah.
There's a guy out there this guy monna ke selepe. Those conversations are there.
Sure.
That's why we as women we get to a point where you're like now we must accept the fact that there is no man out there who will just stay at home and love you and love you only. But monogamy is not possible. Monogamy. Monogamy, no. Yeah. Monogamy is it's not possible. Yeah. It's impossible to love one person the rest of your life.
We're not built like that as men.
Yeah, as men. Yeah. How do you engage in such conversations?
I do.
I'm sure about Srilo about Banda.
I don't know.
I'm telling you.
Sure, probably.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Our slogan is husbands know better, do better. We're failing forward. So we're failing forward, right? And we're trying to know better so that we can do better. We're not sitting around those microphones as experts.
Or perfect.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to find out how imperfect I am, ask my wife.
Yeah.
She will tell you. That's the first person who will tell you about my underwear with holes and my socks that stink. She will tell you, right? So I'm like, we're not perfect. We're not perfect. But we're trying to save this country. Yeah. Right? There's many other ways that people are contributing to the salvation of this country.
Yeah.
I just think if fathers would be at home, especially if you're married, man, the thing that all of us are trying to do in championing this country would move very fast, right? Because any society is built on the foundations of the family, right? And so once you break that, you break a community. Once you break a community, you break a country. Break a country, continent is broken, the world is broken. So get the guy who goes out and says to Masi's parents, I want to marry her and I want to be responsible, and take her. Get that guy, encourage him to be responsible, encourage him to build a family, to have a bunch of kids.
Get him where?
I'm getting him from the world. That's why I'm doing the pod. And so that's why I'm saying this. Because here's the thing. So today we've had our fourth in-person live recording.
Okay.
So every last Saturday of the month, we do these live recordings.
Okay.
Right. And so then we invite anyone in our community, just book. Right. If you book, come through. The thing is free.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you secure your spot. And we've had at least 200 plus people in a room. And so then we try and have these conversations with guys. And there's been probably 60 to 70% men in the room compared to women.
Okay.
And so the guys are there.
Yeah.
The guys are there. They didn't, again, where there's a vacuum. They have all these other monogamy.
Yeah,
we need to.
possible.
So they have that. And so then there's a vacuum. That's where I come in to say, hey guys, there's an alternative voice. There's an alternative view. We can live an alternative lifestyle. And so these guys now realize, oh, smack, the algorithm has been my diet, feeding on one thing.
Yeah.
But now I'm giving you an alternative,
Yeah.
and your algorithm can change and you can feed on different kind of content. And they suddenly realizing, no, man, I actually believe in this stuff. I want this stuff, Funny story, some guys who come to the live recordings or who actually subscribe and join our podcast said, my girlfriend introduced me to this thing, and I thought, are you just listening to this guy because he's crush how? Yeah, you like him. That's why, And so one guy came to one of these live recordings, confessed that, and said, man, even today, she dragged me, And I said to her, you're taking me to your crush. Nah? Had the conversation, had the podcast, blah, blah, blah. Afterwards, is like, man, I think you my crush now. I think I'm crushing on you and the kind of husband that you are.
Yeah.
And I want to be that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, I'm not perfect at all. I'm just a dude who was raised by a father who was there. Dad left. So I call it the unfortunate privilege of having both worlds.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate privilege, but it's a privilege because now I know both sides of the coin. And so I have that. And I'm just resolved to try and raise my family in ways that will be sustainable for them, beneficial. And I'm just saying, let's tag along and go on this journey together, man, so that we can be fathers who change this country, right? Husbands who really make a difference in our generation. You know what I mean? So that's all it is.
True. And we have a lot of these, like you're saying, we have a lot of these shows, the podcasts, it's about women empowerment. We have events about women empowerment, being a wife, being a mom. What are some of the things that you hear on your podcast? The challenges that husbands go through, especially when I say challenges coming from, because sometimes when I get banda, it's always like you guys. But what are some of the things where you, like some of the topics or challenges that you hear from men, especially speaking about us women?
You're forcing us to be vulnerable. There's been a lot of calls from the culture and predominantly from women.
Okay.
Saying men need to be vulnerable.
Okay.
Men need to, you need to speak. You need to. And men speak. Majority of the presidents in the world are men. We know how to speak. A majority of authors are men. We know how to speak. We have words. But vulnerability is a whole other ball game. So there's a difference between vulnerability and transparency.
Okay.
And you can't expect me as somebody, a male counterpart. I can't be vulnerable with you. I need to only be vulnerable with my wife.
Of course.
And no other woman ever.
Is that's where we open that weird door? Like, why are you being vulnerable?
You can't. It's actually impossible for a man to be vulnerable with any other woman besides his wife. And that's why I would even encourage husbands who are struggling with vulnerability towards their wife to say you have to be. And the reason why is...
With his wife, or I'm sure there are men out there who are vulnerable with
the side chicks?
Yeah.
That's not vulnerability.
I can't speak to my wife. You're the only person who listens to me. I can be myself with you. He's lying.
He's lying.
Okay. Or can you be vulnerable? What if
you know what men go out the house for? Which is another second struggle that husbands have, is respect. That women don't respect them.
Okay.
So you'll get a guy who runs a Fortune 500 company, drives some fancy SUV, has offices in Sandton, whatever, and you'll find him in a shack because the lady in the shack respects him.
Okay.
And he's Msadi wa Pampir, Mfazwe Pepper in Sandton, talks to him like he's a doormat, right? And you think, why is this Maserati outside Tembiso, Ivor, right? Because he finds respect.
Okay.
Right? That's the second struggle that I think a lot of men have verbalized, And respect is essential. Just like love is essential for you as a woman.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to love you. Yeah. Right? Not that I won't respect you. I do respect you. But you need love more from me, and I need respect. So respect to a man serves as love to a woman, right? And what respect is essentially, because I know it's there's a toxic form of we want respect, but what it is essentially for a man is I want to be acknowledged. I want to be acknowledged for my efforts. I want to be seen, and I want to be told that I'm doing good. And when I'm not doing good, I want to be called out, but in ways that are loving, that are caring. Men who are faithful, who want to love their wives, give access to their wives, give their wives power, access to their souls, right? And so my wife, out of any woman in this world, can destroy me. Which leads me back to the thing of vulnerability. Vulnerability is a military language for men. If you hear an army saying, we have a vulnerability, they have to close that vulnerability because they know the enemy is going to attack that vulnerability. And so when a man speaks of vulnerability, he's speaking of his most intimate part that could easily be used to destroy him. And so he gives that willingly to his wife. I give that willingly to my wife. My wife can take those vulnerabilities, know my limitations, know my weaknesses, and she can champion me in ways that no one else can. If you tell me I look good today, I'm like, oh, cool, thanks. My wife tells me I look good. My chest is pumped up because I'm like, man, when she speaks life to me, she knows my vulnerabilities. She knows my limitations, my weaknesses. It's a different ball game, It's vulnerability is like if a man is a house, vulnerability is saying, or rather transparency is saying, look through the window. So I right now I'm being transparent with you. Look through the window.
Not being vulnerable.
Vulnerable is saying, come into the house and touch the furniture. So whatever those wounds are, whatever that weakness is, I'm inviting you into the house to touch that. Only my wife can do that, right? I can be transparent with you. I have been transparent. This is my life. This is how I lived. But my father wound, my wife has in her hand. My wife can destroy me with my father wound and my issues with my dad. She can destroy me with that. And I've given her that because I need to show up fully as a man before her than the world. You know what I mean? So those two things I found that a lot of husbands are struggling with. Stop asking us to be vulnerable if you're not married to us. We can be transparent, but we can't be vulnerable.
Oh, so Hamutu really just a boyfriend?
Yeah, no, sure.
He can't be vulnerable.
I would say no, don't. Listen, a lot of people are going to say, hell to the no, but I'm like, he's probably struggling with vulnerability because, again, you guys haven't crossed that invisible threshold. It's literally, it's an invisible line. Once you say I do, something clicks.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Sometimes it happens at the altar. Sometimes it happens 2 months in.
Yeah.
For my wife, it happened 5 years later. Clicked. Right? That, oh, smack.
This is it, man.
I'm a wife now. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, it happened as soon as she walked down the aisle. I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is my wife, right? I need to be a husband. I need to be responsible, etc., right? And so at that point, man, I need to give all of who I am. Before then, I'm like, man, we haven't crossed that thing. It's okay. And I think most men struggle with being vulnerable. The girlfriend is like, he's not vulnerable. He never shares. Because vulnerability means I am giving you carte blanche access to my soul.
So, do you think the whole thing of dating?
Yeah.
Because now we date for so long. People date for so long before they get married.
Sure.
So do you think, because it goes both ways, even as guys, you guys expect us to do the wifey.
Yeah.
Really the girlfriend.
And I would
say
say no.
You can like you're dating someone and there's just but like I'm not your wife.
You're not my wife, man.
But when we're dating, we treat our boyfriends like they are our husband until then. It's not nice. Like you're saying, until you feel like, why am I doing this? You're not my husband.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So the dating game, should it be, do you think, are we doing it right by dating for so long? People have kids before they get married and then they get married.
Yeah, sure. And here's the thing, people have different convictions.
Yeah.
That's why they would have different lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
I do think at a level of commitment, marriage does bring a different kind of responsibility. I've known of cases, because I'm also involved in marriage counseling. I know of cases of couples who've lived together for 8, 10 plus years. Things were fine. Had kids, things were fine. And as soon as they got married, 8 months, they divorced.
Yeah.
Because again, there is a gear shift when you do get married. I expect more.
Yeah.
Even though we lived together before, you paid whatever, let's say electricity, I paid for the water, you looked after the car, I paid for petrol, whatever. We had roles. As soon as we crossed that line, suddenly I'm like, pila untatoli lapha no.
Hey, sebet.
Yeah, you're not just,
Take the bond.
Yeah. And another thing is, the door is open when you're dating. So if anything falls apart I can leave.
With marriage, it's not easy.
I always say part of why it's hard, there's all these restrictive things in marriage, is because we can't trust our own hearts. Marriage is restrictive, I think, from the top down.
Yeah.
God restricts marriage.
Yeah.
He says it's between a man and a woman. Very restrictive. It's there for the making of children. It's not just for fun. Very restrictive. You come to family, you have to pay lobola. You can't just walk in. Very restrictive. You have to speak to the uncle. So there's a process. Very restrictive. Okay, comes down to the law. You have to sign, whether it's going to be a prenup or it's going to be married in community or property. Very restrictive. Why? Because when you're in, the door is shut. When you feel like I need to leave, you think, I need to speak. I need to go tell. I need to go sign papers. But so those things are restrictive in a way that they can become deterrents and make you change your mind when things get too hot. When you're dating, what's restricting? I can leave when I want to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there is that, man. The door is open, so people feel can bounce at any point. But when you get married, there is commitment. I think the temperature does rise. It calls us to, I think do things more differently. So even speaking of fatherhood, it calls us to kind of step up, because now I'm like, man, we said we're here and we're going to build this thing and we're not moving. Here are parameters. Okay, let's work here. When we fight, there's something we're fighting for. So I think there's all of these other additional motivations of why this relationship will continue growing if you do get married, But the rates are dropping. Literally from 2022 till now, I think people who are married, has dropped probably by 39% compared to 2022.
Well, getting married or divorcing?
Getting married.
Yeah.
So people were getting married in higher numbers.
It's not happening in
96. From 96, numbers have been dropping. And then there was a rapid drop between 2022 and 24. And so that's people are disregarding marriage. People don't see the value of marriage. People don't see the goodness of marriage, and part of that problem is us, people who are married. If you support Kaizer Chiefs or Pirates, and you wear the jersey and go act like a clown, people think, all Orlando Pirates supporters are clowns, So it's us, married people, we wear the jersey, and then we behave in ways that don't say that we value the institute. So those who are outside the institute then disrespected, of course, disregarded. And so that's part of my motivation for this pod, to say, man, I value this thing, and let's talk about it. And let's speak to a bunch of other husbands who are there, who value this thing. Let's show younger men who are disenchanted, disillusioned, don't care about marriage, that, man, this thing is possible. It's possible, We're not heroes. We're just here. And I think it's a better solution for the country. Yeah. And its issues. Yeah.
And fatherhood, what kind of a father are you?
I suck.
You suck.
Fatherhood is tough, man.
You are rolling at the husband. The husband's my husband. What a fatherhood. I suck. Full stop.
And in fact, husbandhood is tougher than fatherhood.
Is fatherhood tougher than husbandhood?
Nah, I think being a husband is tougher.
Got you.
I think being a husband is tougher, because my role as a husband speaks to both. Yeah. My relationship with my wife and how I show up for my kid. But fatherhood is dope, man. I love my kid. And I say it sucks because where I am currently, I am struggling.
Okay.
And my struggle is, when my kid was a toddler, she's a kid. She's demanding, she poops, she eats, she sleeps. You could physically be there. She's not needing a lot of energy from you, right? So that was easier for me. And I remember she used to fit on my arm. I'd brush my teeth holding her with one arm. Hey, bond, talk. She needs to go sleep. Okay, we're going to the mall. Pram. Cries, keep quiet, sleep, feed. Easy, right? At least for me, it was easy. And now she's growing. She's demanding more. So now she wants to play, right? I'm not that guy.
Really?
I'm not, yeah. And playing with your kids is actually super essential. In fact, there was a report that came out on fatherhood, 2018 and 2024, and they highlighted the importance of fathers playing with their kids. Boys who become violent later on in life, part of that is attributed to the lack of play with their dads. So playing with your child helps them in their development distinguish between what is violent and what's playful. And so as you're playing with them, if he's a boy, you can wrestle him, and then he can realize, okay, we can wrestle and stretch our muscle to this extent. Far beyond this, this is violent. You're hurting me, right? And so playing with them helps them distinguish that. And so play is important. And I know that play is important.
How's that, Daddy?
Again, because I think it's just not natural to me. And that's why I'm struggling. It's not natural,
But playing with girls is easy. Like, you just go to her levels, chill there.
I know.
Play with the dolls.
I know. And my daughter is not like that. She's a creative like us. Both me and my wife are creative. So she's hops onto the next thing. Let's do this. Okay, let's go play soccer. You kick the ball 3 times and then she's like, okay, I'm done. Let's go now climb on the fence. Yeah. Okay, cool. No, let's sit here and play guitar. Let's whatever, So I'm struggling with that. And I think it's just a season of life that I'm in as well, So trying to build businesses, trying to do stuff, etc. And then I'm like, okay, cool, we're gonna go play. And so then you play for 2 minutes, and then you're like,
you don't want to play anymore.
My back is sore. You know what I mean? And now I need to come into the tent, and so I'm struggling right now. And I said to my wife, I think I'm gonna be an amazing teen dad when my daughter becomes a teenager.
I hear you.
We're gonna have the best time
just
of our
not now.
lives,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just going with grace and prayer and rooibos tea. That's me.
It's so interesting.
So I said to my wife, I'm not saying that I'm gonna be a great teen dad because I'm struggling now. I'm just acknowledging my strengths.
Yeah.
My strength is, and I've worked with teenagers before, so that I know as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I get teenagers. They get me. We cool, blah, 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 and there's a clear boundary. But teenagers hate it when you try and be the cool guy.
Yeah.
They just want you to be an adult.
Yeah.
They can be who they are.
Yeah.
I love those boundaries. I could talk to them. They can respond. So my daughter, there's times where she's asking questions, but then I can't explain the way I'm talking to you now.
Got you.
Because she's young.
Little, yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, now we have to explain this.
Got you.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's probably play it. And it's right now, that's just the tough part of fatherhood.
Yeah.
And I'm just like asking my wife to be gracious.
Yeah.
I apologize to my daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, I know somewhere in your brain you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm not going anywhere, and I pray God keeps me. But man, when you like in your teen years, we're gonna have the best time of our lives. Right now, Babu is struggling, and things are a bit weird, right? But I'm here, and so then I try different things, So then I'm like, okay, let me not let her dictate the game, because then if she comes and says we're playing this, I'm like, okay, this is tight. I'm like, maybe let me try and initiate. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna play this. Maybe that's also gonna get me stimulated, and then I'll play longer than 10 minutes. Yeah. So yeah, that's just the challenging part right now. But I enjoy fatherhood, man. Yeah. I enjoy it, and I enjoy my kid, and I love seeing her become the person that she is. She's not the same person than she was when she was young, and now I'm like, man, this is nice. This discovery. This is like incredible stuff, So I'm enjoying the discovery. Yeah. The playing is hard.
Yeah. The playing is hard. Yeah.
But I'm not leaving.
And the challenges of being a provider as a man, like you're saying, you are really now trying to get really entrepreneur. It's not easy.
Nice, man.
It's not glamorous. How do you deal with that? Because starting a business is the same as having a child.
Yes.
If you're not there, it will definitely suffer.
And starting a church, back to our dad's. It is hard. It is hard, man. Yeah. I'm asking for a lot of grace from my wife.
Yeah.
A lot of grace.
Yeah.
And I can see how I'm stretching us.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly just asking my wife for grace, but also kind of reselling the vision over and over and over and over and over, which a lot of guys I think struggle with. Your wife gets tired, and then you're like, you should be more supportive wife. And it's like, well, you took her from her house. She can only be as supportive as you clarify the vision. If you don't clarify the vision, she cannot support what she doesn't know. Right? So I need to clarify, and that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Having to say, hey man, I think this thing is changing, it's growing like this. And then she's like, yeah, but last week you said this. Okay, let me paddle back. This is what I meant. Okay, I didn't mean that. I meant this. Okay, let's, and then she's frustrated, and then it's a hard moment, but then we have to get over that, resell the vision, go, success, hump, resell the vision, So that's been a lot of grace, a lot of prayer, a lot of conversations. But I always say to husbands, financial provision is but one way that you provide. Right? As a husband, as a father, you provide spiritual guidance. You provide the culture of the home. You provide joy. Right? Ask anyone who's married. The temperature of the father changes the temperature of the house. Right? So if I come in and I'm grumpy, the girls they could have been having an amazing time. But I walk in and I'm grumpy, the whole temperature changes. If I come in that day, but I'm like, yo, Claudius, I'm happy to be home.
Yeah.
They could be at a 10, they'll be at a 20.
Yeah.
They could be at a 0, they'll move to a 10 because I'm lifting up the mood. And fathers and husbands have a way of providing that, So if you don't provide spiritually, there's going to be a guru that comes on YouTube and tells your kid to go eat grass. And they're not going to have any spiritual guidance, and they're going to eat snakes and grass, right?
Yeah.
If you don't provide emotionally, there's going to be a man who's going to come take advantage of your daughter and provide emotionally. If you don't provide the culture of the home, then your wife is going to go find a culture, go coffee, go news cafe or somewhere else, right? So you provide more than finances, man.
Yeah.
So that also helps alleviate pressure from me when the finances are teka ring. I'm like, guys, but I provide a bunch of other things. We are healthy mentally. We are happy.
And it's seasonal. You'll be fine.
It's seasonal.
Like,
you know what I mean? We'll be cool. Listen, I still have enough money for frozen yogurt. Let's go have frozen yogurt.
Let's play a quick game before we finish.
By the way, shout outs to you, man. You dope. This is amazing.
Thank you.
And you incredible. Your heart, your soul, your spirit, your energy. You like all blessings to you, man.
Thank you.
All blessings to you.
We mustn't be vulnerable with people who are not ours.
Yeah.
Fire!
Get transparent.
Get transparency. So, best advice you've ever received about marriage?
Best advice I've ever received about marriage. Yes. Move at your own pace.
Move at your own pace.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing you love doing with your child?
Talking.
Not playing.
Playing is tough.
Your parenting style in one word?
Currently, disciplinarian. I discipline a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Your guilty dad pleasure?
Clothes.
I can tell. We are 10. Go, Baba, we are 10. But it's fine. I mean, you work very hard.
Listen, it's anyway.
Yeah. One thing you hope your children say about you one day?
He loved our mom very well.
Mm.
Yeah. He loved our mom very, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing you learned from your dad, those good 15 years, that you would like to teach your children?
Now,
besides the mincemeat and the macaroni.
Appetizer sponsor this episode, please. One thing I'd learned from my dad that I want to pass on. Yeah, man, be a good human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing that trips me up with my dad.
Yeah.
He was a good human until he wasn't.
Yeah.
And I can't reconcile that. So I'd want to say to my kids, nibe no buntu.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just you human, man, first, and love other humans.
Yeah.
Never be too successful for the next person.
Yeah.
Never think that your faults smell better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No. Just be a human, man. Yeah.
And from your mom?
Oh, dress well.
And it's
Dress well.
She dresses well.
Till today. In fact, she came to that live podcast recording that we had. And so then she's in the room and I'm like, oh, guys, by the way, my mom is in the room. Guess what she does? Stands up because it's classic.
Yeah.
And then she's like,
yes.
I'm like, girl, no one asked you to stand up.
Yeah.
But that's her, man. So I have fun. That's my mom. Have fun and always look good while you're having fun.
Yeah.
Never leave the house like your problems, bro.
Yeah.
Just look good.
Yeah.
Look good, feel good, have fun.
Yeah. When I was talking to our team and we spoke about you and wanting to have you on this podcast, we just, besides the fact that we're celebrating fathers this month, what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
It looks like it's a calling and you answered.
Thank you.
And one thing that I appreciate about you and the podcast is that whole thing, our marriage is still cool.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, there was a point where we thought, like we're having those conversations every day. Don't tie that. But when you understand hore modimo hana re etsa una etsang, the structure, like you say, in the institution, modimo hana etsa ntho engwe le engwe modimo a entseng ha se slatla. He knew what he was doing.
Come on now.
It's just that now obviously things have changed so much. And I can like English, man.
It is.
Monogamy. Because you leave Bloemfontein believing and understanding because you learned from your parents and from church. You get here and you're like, there's no such a thing. Like you can love two people.
Yep.
People are opening up their marriages. There's a lot that's happening. But I think whatever happens, do not stop.
Thank you.
Because Linna, myself, I'm not a man, but I watch your podcast.
Thank you.
There's a beautiful episode that you did with a couple, and I listened to that and I'm like,
years
I want to scam go WhatsApp status. And I'm sure you're learning a lot. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming. Number 2, continue doing what you're doing because you are young.
Thank you. Yeah.
Marriage ha se for batho ba borang ba sa apareng hantle. Wa apara hantle ke o la mona o right. He's a present father. He's there. So I think more than anything, thank you for doing what you're doing and continue doing it. Even if mutho a ka tla a o kopa, don't stop.
Sure.
Continue doing what you're doing. And thank you for coming.
And thank you.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
I didn't buy flowers.
Thank you. No, it's chill.
Yeah.
Like, again, just your presence.
Yeah.
Your presence, man. If we'd have more humans like you, I think even this industry would be better. This world will be better. So you are light, you shine.
Okay.
And I don't know your life intimately.
Yeah.
But whatever.
It will come together one day.
No, all I'm saying is you just come and you like this for us.
Yeah.
And so we see your lights and we appreciate that, man. Don't dim your lights.
No.
Never stop being a human.
Yeah.
And shout outs to you. Yeah.
Thank
and
you,
the
Blaque.
work that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you
man.
so much. Thank you guys for watching.